I'm Mark, and I'm going to tell you a story about winning. Winning usually means you overcome something. It means fighting. You might be fighting a clock, a person, or a sickness. I fought all three of these at once. All three of them were me.
I don't remember exactly when it started. It's not like he came home with a rash or something or took up smoking. It's not something you could just write on a calendar. By the time I'd noticed something had changed, it had gone a long way.
It's not as obvious. When we were younger, if we were hurting, you could tell, because we'd been in a wheelchair or something. Mark wore his heart on his sleeve, and it was a pretty big sleeve, because he had a pretty damn big heart. That, and he sort of goes to the gym. You could count on him. You could.
You hear people say, "You aren't yourself lately." And you ask, "Well, who am I lately?"
I'd say I don't know.
He wasn't coming out much, but he had a lot of work on. He was trying to make manager, so we cut him a bit of slack.
I'd go to work, but some days I wouldn't even walk into the building. Other days I was there, but not.
If you see someone with a broken arm, you can just ask, "How did you break your arm?" And they'll know.
It gets frustrating when you realise something's wrong and he can't tell you why. And the yelling starts. And then something even worse happens.
The yelling stops. I've had a good life. I mean, it's had its challenges and disappointments, but I've had a good life.
The life of the party sums Mark up. That's who he was.
Then I became the guy that was afraid to go outside. Well, not afraid, just why bother?
He stopped answering his phone. He didn't open the door.
What we found? Well, wasn't what I expected.
No alcohol, no drugs, no suicide note. I didn't want to die. It was more like I'd forgotten how to live.
It was like he wasn't there.
I wish there had been drugs, in a way. Like when parties get out of hand with drinking. You'd know how to help. He couldn't move.
It felt like, one by one, everything I could hear, smell, taste, just all went to ash. I sort of looked a little bit for answers, but if they were there, I just wasn't listening.
We had to help, but we didn't know how.
It was like he was dead, and I thought he might.
You know things are messed up when you start looking around the house thinking, what could do it? I looked at my belts, my shoelaces, I even looked at the oven cleaner and the air freshener. I should have been laughing at how stupid I was. This isn't who I am.
Then one day I went around and we sat.
It's an old cop technique. Ask no questions, and they'll spill their guts because they can't handle the silence. I was kind of used to the quiet, so we just sat for a while.
We sat for 4 days.
Then I looked down at the floor and I said, "Do you want to go for a walk?"
Sure.
Hardly the big confession, the cathartic moment, the breakdown and cry. I still haven't cried, but we did walk that day, and other days too. The more I walked, the more I felt like talking.
He didn't know what to say, but that was okay. We assured him that there were people in groups who wanted to help, even if we didn't know how exactly.
The more I walked, the more I definitely felt like eating.
It's always good to see a mate get his appetite back for life and the good things in it.
Once you realise you have an illness, you can see someone about recovery. Once I hurt my knee, so I saw a specialist. I did some rehab, and my knee got better.
Depression is an illness, and it can be managed.
It can be treated.
It can't always be cured. This is my 4th episode of depression. My first was when I was 19, and it wasn't brought on by a death in the family, it wasn't uni, and it wasn't financial, it just happened. But you know what? With help and time and understanding, I got over the first 3 episodes. And even though there are times when this feels so hard, I have friends and they understand. I have numbers to call and other helping hands.
It was weird when he went on antidepressants for the first time. But when you think about it, what we take for the flu, or tonsillitis, or something else wrong with us, it's not really weird at all.
I'm not here to tell you depression's easy to get over. Some people don't. But a lot can learn to manage it and get on with living. And if the stats are true, 1 in 6 of us will suffer with depression, and we need to be aware of it.
It isn't about getting over it. You can't just tell him to suck it up, princess. You experience it and live through it, and you reinvest in the new life after it and through it. You do the best that you can.
Don't ignore the signs. Ask questions of your friends. Ask questions of yourself. Not all the answers are going to be bad news. Well, that's about it. Keep smiling when you can.